the gap between the ultra rich and everyone else is widening at a speed that the world hasn't seen before. And if you started burning through money at the rate of $1 million every single day, it would take you about 2,740 years to spend $1 trillion.
Hey, it's Hannah here, and this is What in the World, your podcast for the stories that get people talking from the BBC World Service. So who wants to be a trillionaire? Well, Elon Musk does. He's already the world's richest man, but he could be the first person ever to hit that 12-0 milestone. That is 1 followed by 0.00000000000. Is that about right? Now, $1 trillion is more than any person can spend in a lifetime, or even several lifetimes. But have you ever thought what you could actually buy with $1 trillion? Some of the What in the World team have. Here's Rio.
I think with $1 trillion, I'd probably buy a colony ship and go to the moon, Titan. If that wasn't possible, potentially buying a country called Andromeda.
I would build rehabilitation centers for war victims, and also I would invest some money in cancer research and animal shelters.
Thanks, guys. Well, yeah, you could also buy all of the world's major sports leagues. That's football, cricket, you name it. You could get your hands on the economy of a country the size of Switzerland or South Korea, and you could buy the entire global music industry. That is a lot of tracks. So how did we get to this point? And should we be worried about living in a world with trillionaires? Let's find out more about this now from our BBC reporter Natalia Jimenez in New York. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I can't actually get my head around how big $1 trillion is. I've counted out all the zeros, right? 1 with 12 zeros. Can you give me some comparisons?
Yeah, it is a huge number. It's hard for me to process. So usually the way I think about it is with time. So 1 million seconds is about 11 days. And then 1 billion seconds is roughly 31 years. When we get to 1 trillion, it's 31,700 years. And if you started burning through money at the rate of $1 million every single day, without breaks, without any holidays, it would take you about 2,740 years to spend $1 trillion. So in terms of scale, 1 trillion is bigger than, the entire GDP of New Zealand as well. It's a huge number.
And it's a million millions, right? It's
exactly
1,000,006 zeros. It's 12 zeros. And before we jump into trillionaires, I want to go back a level. Billionaires. Just how many billionaires are there in the world right now, and are they clustered in certain countries?
Being a billionaire is not actually that rare nowadays. They're actually multiplying. So according to Forbes, there's about 3,000 billionaires right now around the world. So that's the highest number that's ever been recorded. The United States is topping that list so far with 900 billionaires. And then China comes in second place with over 500. Then there's India and Germany, the UK, but they don't compare to the two big players.
Right, let's add on just a few more zeros to that. So as I mentioned, Elon Musk is tipped to become the world's first ever trillionaire. Can you just remind us who he is and where he gets his wealth from?
Yeah, so Elon Musk is currently the closest person on Earth to hitting the $1 trillion mark. He's not there yet, but he's definitely on his way. His net worth is fluctuating between 400 and the $500 billion range right now. And that all comes from the companies he has founded and also controls. So those companies include Tesla. That's the car making company. They make electric vehicles. They are dominating the market. Then you have SpaceX. They're a rocket company that launches reusable rockets. And then that is also linked to Starlink, which is the satellite network. He also owns X, which used to be known as Twitter, and a company called Neuralink, which is a company that basically creates these brain chips to allow your brain to communicate with computers. So he's kind of really in the tech space.
Yeah.
But essentially, he is close to being the first trillionaire because he owns the majority stake in all those companies. And his stake in those companies is what makes him so rich. So the reason also why he is going to get closer, most likely, to that $1 trillion mark is because Tesla shareholders, so the electric vehicle car making company, approved a pay package that could theoretically give him stock that's worth up to $1 trillion. So that's only if Tesla hits some very ambitious goals, and that includes, delivering 20 million electric vehicles, 1 million robo taxis, a million Optimus robots. So it's not guaranteed, but if he meets those targets, he could have, or he could get stock that could get him to that $1 trillion mark.
And people are saying that it could take as long as 10 years for him to get there. And he doesn't have all of this money, isn't just sitting in a bank account somewhere. It's in, as you say, companies, shares. Can you just explain what that means?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have a bank account with $1 trillion just sitting there. He basically has stake or shares, ownership of his company. So basically, a share, just to break it down, is like a part of a giant company pizza. Is like I like to see it that way. So are there in shares are individual slices of a company. So if you own a slice, you own a part of the company. And if the pizza suddenly becomes incredibly valuable, so does your slice. So Musk's money, quote unquote, is actually the market value of the shares he holds in his companies. So if the Tesla stock price goes up, he gets richer on paper. And if the Tesla stock tanks, he loses billions on paper. You just can't like walk into a bank and withdraw that money either, by the way. So to turn shares into cash, you'd have to sell them, which sometimes you can do, but selling too much of that stock can actually crash it or weaken it, and weaken his control over the company too. So there's a fine line to walk. So when you were saying he's worth hundreds of billions, or he might be worth trillions in the future, we're basically talking about the value of his company stock, not just enormous piles of money that are waiting around somewhere in a bank account.
And that's the same case for most of the world's other billionaires as well. It's companies, stocks and shares in companies that have got them rich. And Elon Musk isn't the only contender in this trillionaire race. Who else is in the running to have $1 trillion in the next decade?
According to Oxfam, there are 4 other people in the world who could realistically get close to that $1 trillion mark in the next decade. And that includes people like Jeff Bezos from Amazon, Larry Ellison from Oracle, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta. All of them are in tech. And there's also people like Bernard Arnault, who controls LVMH, which is a luxury brand.
Now, Natalia, some people have really strong opinions when it comes to the amounts of money that we are talking about. And even the singer Billie Eilish has actually spoken out about it. She said that billionaires should give their money away. Here's what she had to say.
We're in a time right now where the world is really, really bad and really dark, and people need empathy and help more than kind of ever. I'd say if you have money, it would be great to use it for good things and maybe give it to some people that need it. If you're a billionaire, why are you a billionaire? No hate, but yeah, give your money away, shorties. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
But Natalia, there are some people who argue for a world with trillionaires, and that's apart from the trillionaire contenders that we've mentioned themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to have opinions that range from supporting trillionaires to opposing trillionaires. I was actually interested in knowing why people were supporting trillionaires as much as they did. I don't feel like they need all that support, but they have a really big fan base. So the people who are supporting economists say that their fortune could lead to more innovation, because companies that make these people so rich also build things that change the world. So electric cars, reusable rockets, global communication networks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm basically describing Elon Musk with, those descriptors, but they're basically saying that extreme wealth shows the system is rewarding big risks and big ideas, not punishing them. The government is also going to get a lot of tax revenue. We're going to get more kind of jobs, because companies like Amazon and Tesla and Meta are growing so fast. Anyone can benefit from that growth. And on top of that, trillionaires could be philanthropists. So they could fund things like climate solutions, global health, poverty programs, breakthroughs in science. So there's a real argument for trillionaires and their wealth to kind of be the enablers to push innovation forward.
Yeah, so let's get into the other side of the conversation, because one of the big concerns that people have about the very thought of the existence of trillionaires is extreme inequality. And that's not just money, but it's also power and political power. Particularly, Elon Musk had a stint in American politics. He was a huge contributor to Donald Trump's campaign for president. So talk me through how that plays out.
The biggest criticism of to-be trillionaires and today's billionaires is that the gap between the ultra-rich and everyone else is widening at a speed that the world hasn't seen before. According to Oxfam, the 5 richest men on Earth have doubled their wealth since 2020, with almost 5 billion people becoming poor at the same time. So the argument is that wealth isn't just accumulating, it's gravitational, which means that it keeps pulling more money towards the very top and leaving the rest behind. That's the argument here. But there's also a side that touches on political power. So someone worth hundreds of billions can influence elections, they can fund political movements, they can buy media platforms and shape public debate, just like Elon Musk. And critics worry that these people could essentially become unelected global power centers with the ability to sway governments and override public policy and just, basically capitalize on their financial influence. So the tension really isn't about whether these people deserve money. It's about whether we should have a single person control that much wealth and essentially have the capital equivalent to a country's GDP.
Yeah, I found it really interesting, Natalia, that I read this stat from the World Bank that said that the number of people still living in poverty hasn't really changed since the 90s, but the number of billionaires is growing really fast. And with this exponential growth, we could one day have a quadrillionaire or even a quintillionaire. But I just don't know how I would even begin to manage that many zeros. Natalia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that's it from us, but you can listen to more of our episodes right here on the BBC World Service YouTube channel. And while you're here, please do give us a like, subscribe and comment below. Tell us what you would do with $1 trillion. I'm Hannah. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service, and we'll see you next time.